What a great moment here we gotta have. Popcorn talks. I don't know about you, but popcorn, I love popcorn. I love it. I love it so much I have a popcorn maker in my house next to my DVD player, which the DVD player doesn't work, but the popcorn machine still makes pounds and pounds of popcorn at a time. Matter of fact, I have this core memory. This sounds kind of crazy because it's the 70s and this is the truth, I promise you. But we used to have these really dangerous appliances called popcorn poppers. And what they were is like a hot plate with kind of a bowl and supposed to be a lid on it. And that hot plate was probably 4,000 degrees because again, it's the 70s. So your mom would take Crisco, because again, it's the 70s, and put it into the popcorn popper. Well, the core memory I have is when the teacher in preschool, believe it or not, brought one of these amazing hot plate things, put it in the center of the classroom. And we sat around the thing, almost getting grease burned while we're waiting for this thing to pop. And she took the lid off. Oh, can you imagine as a preschooler? She pours the popcorn in there and we sat there anticipating this great moment, this stuff's gonna pop out. And of course it starts with one small pop and then another pop, pop, pop. And then you know how it goes. It just starts blowing up everywhere. It's amazing. Things are flying. There's probably flames shooting across the classroom if we needed to. But it was an amazing moment because these little pieces of popcorn were just spreading out everywhere. I think when Mac thought of popcorn talks, that's the idea he had here. That the people who are coming on the stage are that inspiration. They're gonna fill the room piece by piece, inspiration by inspiration, and it's your job to catch it, not get burned by it, and enjoy the morsels that are coming your way. So I'm gonna start with one key element of popcorn, and that's obviously the sound. The word popcorn gets its name from an onomatopoeia, which by the way, when you get to use that word on a stage, you know you have the right place. But the word pop is the sound the kernel makes when it blows up. So where better to start our popcorn talks with a sound engineer? I'm gonna invite David Jeffers to the stage, be part of our first guest of Popcorn Talks.
Thanks, Tim. What's up, Dash Bash? All right, since first, I guess I gotta take the top off, right? All right, so let me tell you who I am. Well, I had kind of figured this out last night. According to Mac's Mentimeter, I'm like one of 20 others represented here today. Can my other 19 or so others represented here make some noise? Do we have anybody? Non-motion people that are hanging out, learning with me today? All right, thank you. Well, it's a good thing I brought a video with me today that kind of tells you a little bit about me and what I do and my process so I can reclaim my professional and creative identity. So let me back up, Terry, back up. Come on, hey, you know you all were thinking it. All right. Roll the beautiful bean footage, please.
I came up with polyphonic sound because I'm a kid from the 90s and I used to produce using analog equipment. And so in my brainstorming and researching, I came across a theory of quadraphonic recording, which is spelled with an A instead of an I. And it was about recording on a 4-speaker setup instead of like Dolby 5.1. And I just thought that was cool technology from back in the 70s. And it just kind of stuck with me. So we ended up spelling it quadraphonic with an I to come up with quadraphonic sound. Obviously, because I'm a quadriplegic. Before I got injured, I was an engineer. And I lived in Detroit, where Jay Dilla is from, and he was really big back in the 2000s. And he's always somebody that I look to as a producer, the way he did his drums and sing his samples, that if you notice, the dots for the eyes are kind of off center of the letter itself. And that just kind of shows, you know, Jay Dilla's technique of quantizing or some would say not quantitizing his drum beats. So they're kind of just off kilter to give it that nice, lively, unique sound. I like to use his theory in my sound design, where I sync my sounds based on the feeling of what's on the screen and what the story is about, versus really just trying to hit a mark dead on.
Thank you. I just got to say real quick, I'm so happy to be up on stage. This is such a great opportunity. So I wanted to think of something that was the most valuable thing that I could give back, a hack per se. So all my studios, producers, production houses, y'all want to know how to get free labor out of your sound designer and better quality work? Well, it's pretty simple. Bring them in on the projects as early as possible. Yeah. I'm talking about, at scripting mode, storyboard phase. And if you know that's your sound designer, let them sit in on the pitch, be a part of the pitch. Because I think the sooner you get involved, the more married you become to the story, the more you understand the nuances and the feelings that each scene is supposed to have. So, some sound designers might use that to their advantage. Some might ignore it and wait till the animation is done and do it that way. But I prefer to watch every step so I know every feeling. And that allows me to make a template in my session that's broken up by scene. I can load it up with sound effects in advance. So when it's time for me to actually sit down and do the project, I am relaxed. I'm not in a rush, which makes it where I can be as creative as I want to be and pay attention to those special details. And that's another way to make your sound designer happy. When you're in that condition, in that environment, where you're not considered the last person on the list and you're rushing to hit a deadline, they're gonna be happy and you're gonna get the best work out of them. So to sum it all up, don't look at your sound design as an other. Bring them onto the team day one. Yep. And the last thing I want to say, just in general, I believe you should work from gratitude, be happy where you are today, where you were yesterday, and be vocal about it. And on that note, I want to thank BN, School of Motion, and Joe from thechicken.net, because they were the ones that got me going in the beginning of my sound design career with their support and giving me knowledge, and I am forever grateful. That's my time, y'all.
And we got to tell people about the documentary.
Oh yeah, there's a little documentary that BN and Only Today TV have done kind of about my progression after my accident into becoming a sound designer, and it's called Quad Life, and you can check it out at Quad Life Doc on Instagram, or Quad Life Doc is the website.
And soon to be Netflix, please.
I got my fingers crossed.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Give a round of applause. What's popcorn without sound, right? That's the best part right there at the very beginning. You heat up that kernel, pop, that thing gets to go off. What's kind of fun about the word pop also is it has multiple meanings, isn't it? We say pop culture, or I'm about to pop, right? These are things that all of us can relate to one way or another. There's an essence of popcorn that just takes over. There's actually, if you are making popcorn or threaten to make popcorn for a child, they just talk about it for hours until you make the darn thing. There's a ritual to popcorn. Maybe you're like me and you must get popcorn when you go to the movie theater with some licorice or M&Ms or what else you put on top of it. So the elements of popcorn are so fun because there's a tradition and a thought process. There's an anticipation, or can we say there's a greatness to popcorn? Something that you know you can anticipate and it always comes true. Don't you love that about popcorn? Right, come on. Yeah, right, me too. All right, so our next speaker is going to fulfill us the same way of that essence, the same way of that same essence of popcorn. Popcorn gives us a promise, and Barbara Astrini is going to give us the same promise. She's an Emmy Award winner. She's an amazing speaker. I'm so glad to introduce to you Barbara Astrini.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Hi, Dash Bash. Hi. I'm so happy to be here. I actually got my start of my motion design career here in Raleigh. So y'all are in a good area for inspiration. But today we're gonna talk about play and how you can let your inner child guide you to a more fun, fulfilling life and career. So a little bit about me. My name is Barbara Astrini. I own my own studio. I'm an art director and a motion designer, like most of you. I'm from Brazil, had my minute here in Raleigh, now I'm in Queens. And I worked with a lot of kids brands. Spent a lot of time in Nickelodeon, Scholastic, Sesame Street, and all of it was encouraging kids to play and be curious. But during that time, I realized that us grown-ups forgot how to play. So we're here to fix that. So what is play? Play is something that resolves in joyful discovery. It's something that you do purely for fun. For me, for example, I love to dance, I like to color, I love dressing up my Barbies, putting little outfits in their display, and even like reading outside, that is play. Most importantly, play is spontaneous and it's a voluntary activity and it should be purpose-free because, and this is the crucial point, if it has a big goal or purpose, then it's probably not play. And then what play does, it puts you in a state of mind where you're absorbed. I've heard the flow, and you lose track of time and you want to repeat it. And biologically, we are hardwired to play. We have, as human animals, an innate drive for exploration, experimentation, and creativity. And in fact, play is one of the 7 fundamental circuits in our brain. Just like rage, fear, play is actually foundational and not trivial. And as we know, it's not just us people. Dogs wrestle, kittens pounce on toys, and recent research has shown that even bumblebees like to roll balls, little wooden balls. Soccer ball, our studio gave a little artistic creativity, but they actually love rolling little wooden balls just for fun, not for a reward, not for food, showing that play is a deep-rooted behavior even in bugs. So why is it good for you? The main thing is that it unlocks creativity and it silences the inner critic, you know, the little voice that's telling you you're not good enough or that there's a creative problem you can't solve. Play is your secret weapon to unlock that, to get out of those creative blocks. And it leads to your flow state. Your mind relaxes, it connects ideas you might not have thought about. It also reduces stress, boosts dopamine, which is like the feel-good chemicals. And it's good for brain structure. Like it actually helps with executive function, which is what helps you learn and adapt. See, it's all full circle. And so yeah, it's vital for your mental, your physical, and your emotional health. Just like eating and sleeping, you need to play. So much so that the UN declared play as the right of every child. And now what we're here for, why is play good for business? Play powers performance. And company cultures that can accept that have better results because we all know happy, engaged people do better work. Who knew? It creates psychological safety. And that is when you feel safe to speak up, share, and be your full self. Then you can collaborate more. Collaboration's literally playtime, where ideas flow, you have more innovation, and you are not afraid to throw out weird ideas. And then you work smarter and not harder, and you avoid burnout. So how do you bring play into your lives? So my favorite is access your inner child. And I love that other presenters also had baby pictures because it is. Think what lit you up as a kid. What made you feel free? And that's gonna help you unlock that creative flow. For me, I learned that I've always loved dancing and I've always loved cats. Never had a pet in my life, but was drawn to cats and loved being submerged in bodies of water. And then explore and experiment. For this, you should go analog first. You want to capture the feeling of when you're a kid and you go to a restaurant and they give you crayons and like a paper tablecloth and you can just like draw whatever. It's just pure creative freedom. So let's start your projects that way. It's fine. You try ideas, write everything, build on what works, and then toss what doesn't, and stay open, because limited thinking and like trying to find one solution immediately kills creativity. And most importantly, take actual breaks. Schedule them if you need to. Step away from your glowing monitors, from your phones, everything. Move your body. Just have something, do something fun and unrelated. It doesn't have to need to be for long, because that lets your mind wander. And I heard that the distance from ha-ha to aha is really close. So when we all know that we have shower ideas or when we're on walks. So, play fetch with your dog, and it's gonna kind of give you that clarity that you need. If you're curious how you like to play, if you just haven't done it in a minute, because life is heavy, the National Institute of Play has a fun quiz that you can take and find out what your play personality is. In my case, I'm an explorer and a creative. I love to learn and play. I am not competitive. That stresses me out, but some people love that. And so just lean into what you like. So thank you, Dash Bash. Thank you, Dash, for having me. Thank you.
Popcorn, come on. Makes you want more, doesn't it? Just a little bit of a taste and you want more and more and more. This is awesome. Okay, popcorn, what else is great about popcorn? The smell, right? Come on. When you walk in the movie theater, that aroma just fills the room. In a lot of cases, the creative world we live in has that same presence. We might call it charisma, or legacy, or purpose, or challenges. It's something that fills the room first, something that meets us along the way. Eventually, we'll be fulfilled, but the very beginning of a creative process has a presence to it, just like the aroma of popcorn. Come on. I'm working on this metaphor here. She's clearly... All right, so our next guest is a creative director, a creative mind, and great person that's going to give us that insight and understanding of what it means to meet those challenges. Please welcome Nol Honig.
Thanks, Tim. Hey, everybody. Right on. This is what I'm talking about. Let's begin. All right, if you don't know me, my name is, thank you. If you don't know me, my name is Nol Honig, and I'm a director and a designer and an animator and a teacher. And this year, I turned 55 years old. Thank you. You're too kind, really. Now, I want to say right up top that I love being 55. I've never felt more like myself than I do right now, okay? But as I look forward to the next 10 years of my career, I definitely have some questions. Questions that kind of bubble up that honestly I really don't have answers for. And let's just call that what they are, which are my fears, okay? I think it's important to be open about our fears. I think it takes away some of their power, right? So here are a few of mine as I think ahead to the next 10 years of my career. To begin with, as a freelancer, are studios gonna still hire me when I'm in my 60s? I don't know, we haven't really figured out how much ageism there really is in this industry yet, okay? But I definitely have fears about that. I also kind of wonder whether the tech and the software is gonna evolve so quickly that I just won't be able to keep up, right? That I'll just kind of age out for that reason. Also, like many of us, I guess, I do wonder whether AI is gonna just kind of take over our whole industry and make us and me obsolete in a few years. Now, these are all career fears, and I kind of want to share with you something today that's much more of a personal fear that kind of hangs over my head a lot of the time, okay? And it has to do with these two people here, Alan and Celia, my parents. Both of these people, unfortunately, got sick when they were my age and passed away. My dad passed away when he was 60, and my mom when she was 65. So, yeah, as I think about the next 10 years of my life, honestly, My biggest fear is I'm just not going to be here. All right. I just want to say, if I'm thinking about this now, I feel like many of you are going to be thinking about this later, okay? So I think it's kind of important to talk about. But I'm not going to dwell on it, all right? So as I was putting this talk together, I really questioned, what kind of advice could I give in a 5-minute talk about getting older in this career, right? And it's a really big topic. It's a really short amount of time. So I kind of had to boil it down to like 2 basic things that I wished that I knew better when I was younger, when I was coming up in this industry, right? So I'm going to share those with you today. To begin with, I think it's really important to define your own success. And I really wish I knew this more when I was younger. And I think this starts with asking yourself the question, what do I really, really actually want? Now, I've found for myself that this can be surprisingly difficult to be honest about with yourself at times, okay? So I think it's really important to understand what you're going for, though. Like, for example, are you somebody with strong creative ambitions, right? Do you want to make some of the best work in the industry? Or maybe you're somebody that wants to get a great job at an agency or a studio and work your way up, right? Or honestly, maybe you're just somebody who wants to make some money and spend time with their family and friends, right? I think these are all great goals, but they're very, very different goals. I think you need to pick a direction and then just go for it, okay? And just understand that in the course of your career, your goals are going to change. They're going to shift, all right? So you're not locked into one thing. I think the important thing is, in my mind, that you shouldn't just drift for long parts of your career with no direction, okay? Let's pick a direction here, even if it changes later on, and it will. All right. And finally about that, I just want to implore you to make sure that your definition of success is your own, okay? Not somebody else's, not your parents or whatever, all right? Moving on, my second piece of advice is about burnout. I would like to ask you all to please protect your beautiful brains, because this job will definitely burn you out, as you know, in a million different ways. But in the course of a 30 or 40-year career, this is a big risk, okay? So I know for me, the kinds of burnout that I've faced, and I'm sure we all have, definitely one of them is way too much work over too short a period of time will just burn you the heck out, right? But also, as a freelancer, too little work is also completely demoralizing and will burn you out as well. Now, for me, the worst burnout that I've ever felt in my life, and one that I go through pretty cyclically, I'm gonna say, has to do with creative disappointment, right? From feeling like my own artistic ambitions are just not being fulfilled by this career. Anybody else ever feel that way? Yeah, all right. So I've learned over the years that you have to work really hard to protect your own creative spark, okay? Because in some way, this field will seek to extinguish that if you're not careful. My advice here is things that we already all know, okay? Personal projects are really helpful for this. Also, collaborating with other people who can push your methods or your mind or your ideas in different directions is wonderful. Finally, I will also mention mentoring people, or officially or unofficially on their way up, is another thing that's super helpful. Basically, whatever is going to help keep you connected to what you actually care about, right? Because take it from me, if this spark dies, it's really, really hard to get that back. All right, I know there's a lot to throw at you in 5 minutes. I'm kind of hoping that at least it was a good reminder of things that we all already know. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
Don't you love it? The insights we get around here are amazing. I've gone through some transformations myself, by the way. Being a producer at Imaginary Forces, I was there for the first 7 years, and that was an amazing time of my career. It kind of boosted things, and it was early enough in motion design that it wasn't yet defined what motion design was completely going to be. But I needed to take my own break. I quit my job. It was great. I went to seminary thinking I was going to help and support people. And it turns out I do help and support people. One thing you learn when you want to support people is you support the people you already love. And this industry are people that I love. This is the work I wanted to always be part of. So to be part of this world and be able to do that in a great way is awesome. So I love Nol's story. It's amazing, or Nol's speech, because it's amazing to give us a reminder of what's important about what we do. And this concept of opportunity for transformation. Not to belabor the popcorn metaphor, but popcorn does transform from a kernel to a white morsel that we can really enjoy, right? All right, so speaking of transformation, there's amazing stories all around us every day. There are people here that are taking risks. They've looked at life opportunities, faced the challenges and take them on, and they get to be here and be part of our industry in great ways. Our next speaker is exactly that. Jeffery Lawson is a combat veteran turned creative. He's an amazing designer, a lovely person, and he has a great journey and story for us today. So welcome, Jeffery.
Thank you. Well, this is, I can't believe I'm here, but, so when I started to think about this, I was thinking about a lot of the people that helped me climb my mountain over the last 6 years. And so I was thinking about that and tighten this up to something that we can all relate to, which is also a common thread, whether it's in the office, battlefield, and something we all learn sooner or later. Shit happens. You get laid off more than once, you lose your savings, you lose your stepdad, your teammate dies in combat, bombs drop night after night, the client bails, your computer catches fire. Let's hope that doesn't happen. So who I am, look, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm definitely not the prettiest, right? But I lived through a lot of those things that I just talked about and a few lessons I learned early on that kept me alive and I learned in boot camp. They kept me moving, so let's talk about a couple of those. These field notes. No plan survives first contact. You can prep, you can plan, and you can rehearse, but until your boots hit the ground, you can never know the full picture of what's waiting in the weeds because nothing ever truly goes as planned. This isn't just my battlefield wisdom, it's creative too. We've all been there, right? That client says, hey, this plan isn't working, can we shift? But the plan isn't how it perfectly holds, it's about how well you can adapt when it doesn't. So, field note 2, complacency kills. This is one of the things that we learn the most in the military. It's about staying ready and anticipating when things might go wrong. We cleaned our weapons daily because, sorry for my language, when shit pops off, you don't want to be the one that the weapon does not work. There's no reset screen when it's go time. As much as we all love video games, life isn't Metal Gear Solid. It's not. I mean, even in the office, staying ready means building habits like communicating well to your bosses and your peers, checking in early, naming your damn layers, and asking for help before it becomes mandatory. So, story time. We don't have blankies, we don't have sippy cups, but I want to tell you a story that happened over the last 2 years. Life handed me some pretty shitty cards and a few good ones, but looking back, it all had purpose. So all the things I talked about, losing loved ones, decline in health, layoffs, bad clients, and I even thought about joining the Navy back at the age of 40. So I don't know what I would have done with that, but luckily that didn't happen. So, but in all that, God gave me something in that mess. He stripped away everything that I thought mattered, and he replanted me here in North Carolina in something deeper. I found a community at my church, people who speak truth over me and hold me to a new standard. I started a new role, and for the first time, sorry, I'm about to get emotional, I feel like there was no war to fight. I found grace, and that grace reminds me of this. There's mountains like this one that you'll find that I put out on your seats that even when it seems impossible to climb, there are people who will be your guide and help you climb those mountains and tear down those invisible fences. And so I'll leave you with a few things before I go. So this is a painting I did of a photo I took in Afghanistan when I decided to go back to SCAD in 2013. So before we go, plans fall apart, the situation changes, but you don't always get a warning of that. But the real value in the mental preparation and knowing that at some point something is coming, because when the shit hits the fan, make sure you don't shit the bed. So my final takeaways are this. Listen, a plan is like a paper umbrella. I don't even know what the hell that means. But papers, umbrellas aren't the thing. Listen, being flexible in your roles and in your job is a superpower. Life is not a cardboard box. I'm gonna repeat this again, and you are not Solid Snake. There is no top-down view in life, and you won't see the bad things coming. And this is my last favorite one. Grace over shit. Show some grace to your fellow human being because you never know what piles of shit they stepped in lately. Most importantly, maybe it's this one. All right. Thank you for your time. Hope you had a good time.
All right, I approve that swear language in that one. That was really great. I love that one. I have a theory that all of us have a secret career. And what I mean by that is it's the career we would do if we weren't doing this career. So take a moment right now. I want you to turn to the person to your right or left or the person closest to you. And I want you to tell them what your secret career is. And it should be something like teacher, usher, DJ, I don't know. That was like the longest conversation for the most simple question I've ever asked. This is amazing. All right, tell me something interesting you just heard. What's a career that someone's gonna jump into if they weren't doing this one? Comedian? Yeah. Oh yeah. A comedian that's afraid to get on a stage. This is great. This is brilliant. What other careers are out there? Arby's. Working at Arby's for sure. What was that? Etymologist, right on. How about over here? Arsonist? Stay from this side of the stage. He's like that 70 popcorn machine too easy. How about over here? Oh, a chef. Yeah, see, there you go. Great job. I kid you not. My wife is in the audience. She can verify this. But I used to love to go to the farmer's market, you know, and that dude that makes the popcorn in the kettle thing. I so want to be that person. So want to be that person. I think I just wanted the attention, which is probably why I started a community of creative entrepreneurs, just to get the attention and make the popcorn for everybody in the middle there. I love that stuff. All right, that's enough. We're having too much fun with this, right? Our next speaker is an executive producer, but a journey to get there. She has an understanding about life, career, and great big concepts. So please welcome Stephanie Rabins, the EP from Black Magic.
Check, check. Thank you. Thank you so much to Dash Bash, to Dash. It's an honor to be here. It's so much fun to be here among colleagues and peers for the last few days. And the talks have been so moving and so wonderful. So thank you to all the speakers. I had to change a few of my thoughts here in my talk because of all the thinking I've done the last 2 days. So forgive me if my slides don't match exactly what I say. And also forgive me because I work in production and I made them myself. So that's why they look like this. So I'm an executive producer. I work in production. Like Kirsten spoke so eloquently about, I also came through the art door. I think most of the people in this room, whether or not we are creative team members or have design in our title, came in that way. I have a background in photography, film, music. But I found myself at some point in my work life sitting in the business section. And I know that many of you have or will be asked to do the same thing. Whether you're a freelancer and you are growing the sustainability of your practice, or whether you work in a small shop or a medium shop or a large shop, and you find yourself more and more working on the business instead of just in the business, as we say, you're going to be asked to do some outreach and build new connections. Because despite all the robot talk, it's still a relationship business. So my talk is called The Art of Reaching Out, tapping your creative juice to do the scary things your business or your boss needs you to do. And I'm going to talk about a couple ways that I've had to come to terms with tools to not see the creative side of things and the business side of things as in contrast with each other, but actually in tandem, because we have no choice. So I didn't want to do this. I still sometimes don't want to do this. I know this is common. I didn't come this far and learn this much about art and production to know what a pipeline is. I didn't we didn't mean to do this, but long story short, someone's got to do it. This is our livelihoods, it's our jobs, and as we've heard over the last couple of days, it's our industry on the line, and so somebody's got to grow the business. So the first thing I had to do was really look around myself and think about what was giving me a lot of the story of my days, of my work days. And in 2025, everybody and their uncle is a storyteller, okay? But I thought about it and I realized that the highest stakes narrative structure parts of my day were on the business side often, because sometimes I'm a winner and sometimes I'm a big loser. There are status shifts all the time. There's plant and payoff. Like you do something and it comes back, it pays off in a year or 2 years. So the first thing I had to do, and that I ask other people to do all the time, is to accept that and embrace it and just see it as part of the story of our work lives. Most of us probably have lists of dream clients we want to work for, or we have a board of creative directors that you dream of getting called by. I think that I was using my spreadsheet part of my brain to make those lists, and I see a lot of people doing that. The part of your brain that maybe does like time tracking and invoicing and stuff like that. I had to come to figure out that that's not the part of my brain that I need to use when I'm doing real outreach, when I'm really writing somebody. And I have to tell my team this all the time. So if you're sitting at your computer doing like the admin stuff, that's not when I recommend doing real good outreach. So I had to realize that to do really good outreach, I had to use the part of my brain that I use in art time and creative time. So for me, that means that if I'm doing like boring computer stuff, I need to stop and I need to take a 10-minute walk before I write a really important note to somebody that I want them to receive well. I don't write the same note to somebody on a Monday morning that I write at the end of a Friday. Like I'm asking you to use the same part of your brain that you use to be creative to do the business growth and the outreach. The most extreme thing probably that I wouldn't ask anyone else to do, not only do I not use AI to write yet, I don't know, but I don't even like to cut and paste. Like if I have to write 3 very similar emails, I will type them all because I have this belief that through my fingers on the keyboard will go through and pop out on someone else's screen and mean more to them if I wrote them for real. You don't have to do that. Don't tell my boss. Another thing I have to tell people all the time, and I really appreciated the way that Julie spoke about making something, putting it out in the world, and setting it free. People are not going to write you back. You might write 20 people, 19 people are not going to write you back. I'm asking you not to see that as a failure, not to see that as like time wasted, but instead to embrace good ghosting. When you put something out in the world and you thought hard about it and you were generous and you were honest with your time, you've created a space for like a positive interaction, for like a touch point, someone might call it. This is a real live email thread. I don't know if you can see it with a monitor, but this is me writing somebody, a former client. We were buddies. He wasn't mad at me, I knew that. This is 2 years of emails. Not writing back. I made it very clear he didn't have to. I kept it light. I kept him up to date with what we were doing. I said something made me think of him, whatever, I stayed in touch. 2 years later, we were onboarded at his new company. Stephanie, what sweet news. He wasn't mad, he was just busy. And that's a relationship I'm probably gonna have for the rest of my working life. We stay in touch. All right, yeah. Any producer knows, any freelancer knows that most of the opportunities that come your way are not gonna necessarily be a right fit for you. So this is where something else comes up that I teach all of our producers. My head of production, Chrissy Ekman, is here. She can attest to this. That when you get a request in the middle of a project that you can't meet, you do something I call saying no by saying yes. So if, we've all got the call, like, can you do a 30-second sale animation? I have $1,000 in 2 weeks. And it's tempting to just say, like, no, I can't make that happen, thank you, kindly. But what I have people think about is, how can I make this an opportunity to create a relationship, to be generous with my time and my expertise? So that might mean that you give them a little tutorial on the steps of animation, and you teach them about why it takes time and money to make. It might mean that you introduce them to a student or an intern that you know that might be able to take it on for that, and you're very honest about the budget and what they're gonna get and what it means in our industry. Or you might be able to convince them that they can achieve their creative goals with 4 stills and a camera move, and maybe you can take it on. Whatever the case, like my very embarrassing many emails with Josh, these are relationships that person is gonna get a budget in a year. That person's gonna go to a new job, and you've been generous with your time, you've helped them out, and you're laying the groundwork for meaningful relationships. If you feel like you don't have the lingo or the CRM tool or the business framework or whatever it is that someone's trying to sell you, I say to that, there is no magic bullet. And if you need those things, and if you like those things, that's great. But the last thing I'm gonna say is that I tried to do this. I went to pick up one of my kids a couple of weeks ago, and she was playing on a tire in school. And I was thinking about why her school encourages this ethos of playing on dirty tires in New York City. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, what she's gaining right now is not knowledge of like an expensive contraption or something really specific, like bespoke tool on a playground or some complicated bike even, but she's gaining balance, she's learning how to fall, she's being brave, she's getting dirty, and she's getting these core skills that she can take wherever she needs to go. I want us to all recognize that in our lives and in our industry, I'm gonna stay on this one for a minute. We have only our integrity, our voice, and our point of view to offer in our creative lives, and that's all we can do in our business lives as well. And that we have the tools with what we have to grow, to change, to make long-term, meaningful relationships in our business, and that everyone in this room has the tools to do that kind of business development because you have the tools to do amazing creative things. So thank you for having me, and stay in touch.